welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey, or tonight might be Conference Room with Geoffrey Morrissey, but in any event, still pretty cool because I am joined at Northeastern University by the wonderful Frankie Cosmos. Thank you all for making the time for us. Would you just be able to introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Sure. I'm Greta. I play guitar.
I'm Lauren. I play keyboard.
I'm David. I play the bass.
I'm Luke. I play drums.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for making the time. We really do appreciate it. So, Greta, I know that when you first started this project, it was a solo project for you, and you chose to take the name Frankie Cosmos as the name for the band. I read that it was somewhere sort of a way to escape your personality, not have the personality weighing you down. And you said something really interesting, that being a human can hinder the performance when on stage. And I was just curious as to, like, how so? Do you find that sort of happens, being a human can hinder a musical performance?
Wow, I wonder what I meant when I said that.
That was the first thing that I thought, too. I'm like, why didn't the reporter ask a follow-up question? Because that's such a profound statement.
Profound or just kind of nonsensical. But no, I don't know. I guess for me it's like that it's easier to talk about real stuff if you have a kind of a shield up, because otherwise it feels too vulnerable. And it's I think, like, if I were writing under Greta Klein or something, I think that I would maybe feel less inclined to share to the full extent that I like to.
Certainly. And then, I mean, the other thing I appreciated is it's a stage name but not a persona, which I think is a very important distinction to make, too.
Yeah, it kind of, I don't know, I feel like at this point it's more of like an idea. Like, when I came up with the name, I also wanted it to be, I always wanted the name that I played solo under to sound like a band name also. Mm-hmm. So, like, I played around with a lot of different, like, solo names that sounded like band names, or like there was more people playing than just me. So I think of it as just like I don't know, I think band names are kind of meaningless, and it's just a way of telling people what you're listening to. I don't know. Yeah. To me, when I hear Frankie Cosmos now, I just like it's just like a phrase that captures the thing that the band is, I guess.
Perfect. And then, so again, this sort of started as something that was in the bedroom, but now it's out in the world, which is really cool. I mean, hundreds of kids are showing up on a Thursday night to hear y'all play. But what do you wish people sort of told you when you started playing live, and how have you sort of, I know that you have some time now, but originally made that adjustment to playing live?
Yeah. Ooh. Anybody else have a good note on that?
Well, I guess I'm the most recent member, so I've experienced this a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that I learned was never be shy about asking what you want in the monitor, and never feel embarrassed if you, like, really need your vocals, like, pumped. Because sometimes I feel, like, a little shy, but there's no reason to be.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that one. I feel like also just, I guess, like, not letting, I've learned over time that, like, if you're having a bad time or you feel like you're playing badly, if you say that, then everyone knows, and then it becomes a bad performance, whether or not it was. And I think if you don't say that, people don't know, and then they just think it was good either way. So just kind of, again, like, just being really confident and, like, just pretending that it went well. That's my best advice to myself.
Yeah, I would say if you're feeling that a performance is not going well, either you're messing up or the sound's bad or whatever, like, the audience doesn't care at all, and they like seeing humans play. So a perfect performance is not the thing that people really need to see, so don't feel bad about it.
Luke, any advice?
I have nothing to add, thank you.
My other advice, which isn't about playing live, but something that I wish someone had told me when I first, like, was working on putting out a record, was that your press release is, like, really important.
Yes, it is.
And,
yes.
like, I didn't know what a press release was, and I wrote my first one, and it was literally just the stupidest thing ever. I wrote, like Greta is a person, like, she likes dogs, and she plays guitar. Like, I just didn't know what the hell a press release was. And so, like, I think that knowing that whatever you write in there becomes your whole persona forever, and everyone just quotes that for the rest of your life and thinks that that's your thing, is kind of a good advice to know for blossoming teenage musicians.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing, too, because I don't get the press releases, but what I try to do is read other interviews before interviewing someone, and so I'll ask them, something that another reporter asked, and I mean, the biggest one was Matt from the National. He's like, I put that in the fucking press release, and I've been asked about it every single time since. So it is a huge word of caution, too, because especially if you, I mean, I'm a fan of y'all's music, but when you don't know the music, that's all you have to go off of, too.
Totally. And also, like, interviews beget interviews. Like, the first press release, even if the next interviewer or next round of interviews you do didn't get that press release, they're reading all these interviews by people who did read that press release, and so it goes on forever, like for years. Even if I'm not writing that I love dogs in my current press release as an adult, people are still like, oh, so like, what's up with like dogs? Like, you like dogs? Like, because it's just a thing that's in like every, I don't know. Yeah, I guess people just tend to latch on to whatever you talk about, or like, I don't know, it's just interesting. I've been like recently giving advice to friends that are for the first time putting out music, so I've been thinking about this stuff a lot. I could talk about it for hours.
There we go. We don't want to keep people waiting, so I'll leave it there. But obviously you aren't a solo artist now. You have 3 wonderful humans surrounding you. What was the biggest sort of curve when you guys became like a cohesive unit as opposed to one person? How did you work out the kinks either in the studio or live?
I'd say we're still working out the kinks. I mean, this is about to be our first record as this version of the band that we're going to make, so we haven't worked out the kinks in the studio yet. But I think it's pretty smooth. There's no kinks. Well, you don't know till you get there. It's definitely like, definitely more opinions, but I think we do a pretty good job of trying to hear everyone out and talk through everyone's opinions and stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think? Kinks? David's been in the band the longest. You were there for the transition from solo to full band. What do you think?
Perfect.
What more could you ask for? Perfect. There you go. That's a pretty high. That's a pretty
I like
bar.
to keep them quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Cracking the whip before I got in. Don't tell them anything.
Exactly. Tell them I'm perfect.
Well, speaking of perfect, next thing, great album.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the next album too. But I want to talk about a song on there called Embody, which is a song largely about friendship, which I find so awesome because people don't write about friendship that often. But how has that sort of played a role in your life and in your music? Just sort of the concept of friendship.
Well, this is a band of all friends, and that's definitely part of why we like being a band. I think all of us are kind of like into that. The whole point of making music is to have it be fun. So like, we play a lot of shows with our friends, and we like being part of musical communities and stuff. I don't know. Friendship. Lauren and I have been friends for like 10 years.
Greta's my best friend.
Yeah. We're best friends.
It's nice to hear that, like, people, because, like, all you hear is about bands splitting people up. I like to hear about bands bringing people together, so that's good. Would you call it easier to write about platonic relationships?
Is anything easy? I don't know.
Is anything easy? True.
I don't know. True. Is anything platonic? David, care to elaborate?
Everything is both platonic and not platonic.
David was forced to share a bed with me last night, and I can't help but.
He was not forced.
He was. He felt. It was fine. It was great. Everything is platonic. I put my butt on people when I'm asleep, so it kind of makes everything not platonic.
a word of caution to the new coming bunk buddies.
Platonic friendship with me. That's the word of caution. I'm just kidding. No, I don't know if it's easier. I think that friendships that are not romantic are definitely better friendships. I think it's easier to have a friendship that's clear of that stuff. I think just like, I mean, I don't know, relationships are very complicated, but yeah, I think friendship is just like the greatest, purest thing on earth, right?
I would agree with that. I will echo that. But one of the things that I also sort of find interesting about Embody, that most of your songs, that they're sub 2 minutes. So is that something that was intentional from the get-go, or did things just sort of come out that way?
Yeah, it's just how they come out. I make them as long as I feel I need to, and then they're over.
Well, several new songs that are longer than that.
Yeah,
a lot of the new songs are over 3 minutes, which for us feels like a marathon.
Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah.
Essentially, like, when's it over?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, look at that. We just talked for 4 minutes about a 2-minute song too. So it does show that small but mighty. I like the difference that you make between simple and minimalistic, because they are two very different things. But if you go onto your Bandcamp, you'll find like 40 plus albums. And I remember when my friends first started telling me, like, you got to listen to Frankie Cosmos. My first instinct was like, where should I pick up? So in your humble opinion, someone's looking to get into you. Where do they pick up the catalog? Or what's a good place to start?
You mean what should the first album they listen to?
Yeah, yes.
I would say Affirms Glinting. And then I would say Next Thing. In that order. Those are the two, gives you like a little range. What do you guys think? Favorite Frankie Cosmos releases?
I like Daddy Cool.
Daddy Cool?
Zentropy.
Yeah, I think Zentropy too.
Sure. Yeah, these two jumped in at Zentropy and they're in the band, so, right? Maybe.
Zentropy was Art School was the first song that I heard, so
cool.
There we go.
All right, yeah.
But is there anything that you regret putting out on Bandcamp? Like anything that you're like, if I could remove that from the world, I would?
I can remove it, and
True.
I often think that I should, but I'm too proud. Almost all of it I regret putting out. But I also, no regrets, I feel like I have this weird, proud, like, feeling of just like, it's out there, and if at least one person is going to enjoy like hearing it, then it's like worth it to just have it be out there for them. I've had a lot of friends who I think make genius, important work, and they've removed it from the internet, and it's made me so upset because I'm like, all the kids who aren't going to get to hear it, like it affected me, so I feel like if I'm going to, I just might as well do the same thing with my weird catalog that I don't even really like.
Well, there you go. Because some people do find it pretty cool. And speaking of that, I know that sometimes bands are hesitant to say this, but you guys are pretty big in indie circles, I would say. You've reached a level of fame, if that makes sense. So how do you deal with no longer being a private person?
Yeah, it's scary. I think for me the scary thing is that my personal life and my persona are so wrapped up in the writing. So, like, it doesn't ever really go away, that's part of what people know. But I think ultimately it's good. Like, I really like meeting people who feel like they know me and like feel connected to me and want to talk about some stuff, I don't know. I'm always down to like make a friend from it. You guys have any it's hard to walk through the throngs of paparazzi, but other than that,
I know I was shoved on the way in by some photog. Yeah.
The three of us are faceless and nameless, so we get to reap all the positive benefits of being in a popular band and none of the negative aspects, pretty much. So the three of us have it easier than Greta.
Go to Starbucks without causing a scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Greta, you should see this one in a Starbucks, and I know there's a Starbucks on campus. So
you're playing in a Starbucks tonight. Yeah, people will go crazy to see you in this particular Starbucks. You're gonna be shocked. But when I first saw you play, y'all were touring with Big Thief, who is one of my absolute new favorite bands. What an amazing album masterpiece is. I saw Adrienne. I tell the story every time I talk about that, but I saw her play solo, and it was just something that was like out of this world. But you toured with them. They're great. Who else would you want to tour with? Who would the band like to hit the road with?
Well,
easy answer.
Caro Caro Bonito. We love to say Caro Caro Bonito from the UK. They're one of all of our favorite bands.
Yeah.
Think of someone else? Or?
No, that's exactly.
I think we all thought of them, right? But also, we had a really great time on tour with Big Thief, and we've also toured with a lot of really great bands in the past. Like, I feel like we've had so many great tour parties. Right before Big Thief tour, we were on tour with this band Ehe, and we were all saying recently how we would love to tour with them again too. But yeah, if you haven't heard Bonito Generation by Caro Caro Bonito, that's the my album of the year of last year. And this year, yeah.
It continues.
And then I'll try and wrap this up, but you guys do a ton of these interviews, which I'm always appreciative. They must get annoying. What do you wish that we talked about more often, asked you more often?
About music.
I honestly I appreciate any interview where there's questions that all of us can kind of respond to. So this was great. Like, I feel like often, sometimes we'll all sit here and it'll all be stuff that's like, how did you write such and such? And I'll be like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I have to answer everything myself. So it's nice to just hear, questions about being a band. This was a great interview, yeah.
I feel like that's such a self-serving question for me to ask, too. And I really should ask it before the tape starts rolling. Yeah, exactly. But what are you guys listening to? What's on the docket for y'all?
Wow. What are we listening to currently?
Still good.
Yeah, KKB.
This is a little off genre, but I'm obsessed with the new J. Cole album.
Oh, there we go.
I can't stop. I can't stop.
I really love My Woman by Angel Olsen that came out last year.
How can you not?
I really love ABBA's Greatest Hits.
So one of my roommates just got that on vinyl. It's been life-changing to be able
I
to
really
put that
love
on.
it.
Yeah.
They're my favorite group of all time.
There we go. I might not echo that sentiment, but...
And the Bee Gees.
And the Bee Gees. Oh, wow. It's a
Yeah.
retro bus ride.
I know.
Lauren's a great DJ.
Yeah. I really like...
Yeah.
Are you the one who's always the one with the playlist?
Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go.
I got the fire playlist.
Yeah. Also, Super Low by Warehouse. We all really like that album. Bubble by Ehe.
Yeah, Bubble.
Masterpiece by Big Thief.
Generation.
Bonito Generation by KKB.
Well, you all have your homework. Bonito Generation and the Bee Gees, that's what y'all need to be listening to.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of being joined by Frankie Cosmos. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks for having us.